Hey YouTube, how you doing? I'm here with another knife review. This time it's for the Reate Hills flipper folding knife. I have a couple different customized versions here in front of you. The only difference is really that I've anodized the titanium handles. That everything else is the same. And just wanted to tell you a little bit about these offerings from Reate. I think that they're one of the most exciting to me as far as a good everyday carry goes. But first I'll get into the actual specs and some of the specifics of the knife. What you're looking at here is a 6AL4V titanium handle, flow-through design, pillar construction, steel pillars there. You have this ridge in the back that gives you some good traction, some really nice contouring. Flipping action is outstanding, really good detent. Frame lock, as you can see, has a steel lock bar insert and an integrated over travel extension, which you can kind of see right there. And if you can't see it there, there's a little tab right there in the back, so you can't overextend this. Anyway, the blade steel is S35VN. Really nice stone wash on this drop point blade. Full flat grind. Some jimping there. Medium traction on that. Wish it was a little bit longer, but it works. Stainless steel hardware everywhere. Titanium pocket spring clip. Perfect tension. Fairly deep carry, but not all the way in the pocket. This is kind of a sweet spot for me. You get a little of the knife sticking out, but only as much as you need. Really nice lockup. A little bit of jimping on the flipper, as you can see. And this is on ball bearings. It's a 3.65 inch blade. I measure it to be right around 3.6. I also weighed it in at about, what was it, 5.4 ounces. Let's see, I leave anything out? The blade thickness I think is 0.16 or 0.15, right around there. It's nothing too crazy overbuilt. It's a really good cutter. Really well balanced dimensions and thickness and proportions and everything. It really works well. Great slicer, great cutter, everything. 59 Rockwell hardness, again. S35VN blade steel, very good blade steel. As you can see, there's only one position for the pocket clip. Right hand tip up carry. Obviously for most people who are right-handed, that's going to be outstanding. For lefties, it's probably not that great. As you can see, that is flush mounted right there. It really sits in there tight and locks in. There's no rotation on this pocket clip at all. It really stays put, so that's good. Well designed, tight tolerances. Okay, so the knife itself, first of all, Reate, you may have seen my other video on the District 9. You probably heard of them. If you haven't, they're a Chinese-based company. They offer high value in most of their knives, and their fit and finish and quality are just superb, which is really part of why there's such value. This knife you can actually get, if you look around, brand new for about $177, which is, for me, very exciting. I initially picked this up, this first one here, for $200, and I was thrilled with that. And I saw that they had lowered the prices and people wanted me to start customizing them and so I just bought up about 10 of them and started doing customizations and selling them off, and I'm telling you, these are just, everybody's so happy with them. They're a great knife. Now for a comparison, I want you to see that for a smaller, good everyday carry knife, you know, like this Nakamura, this is a newer Benchmade I'll do a separate review on. This is a, I guess you could kind of say, more of a standard size everyday carry knife as far as overall length goes. And as you can see, the Reate Hills is quite a bit bigger. I wouldn't say it dwarfs this, but I would say this is just slightly larger than a Griptilian, than a mini Griptilian, this Nakamura. So just to put that into perspective, I want you to realize that you're getting into a slightly larger knife. Even the 940 is a little bit smaller than this. So again, don't get me mistaken, this Reate Hills isn't, you know, a really massive large knife, nothing like that. But if you really do prefer a smaller everyday carry, mid-size to smaller EDC knife, this might not be the option for you. This is weighing in at about 5.4 ounces. That is by no means heavy, but there's a lot lighter out there. I just showed you a couple representations of that. The 940s, I think under 3 ounces if I recall. I think it's like 2.4. It's really lightweight. So there's, if you're really looking for something that is extremely lightweight and that's your main variable you're considering, then this probably won't be it for you. But if you're looking for something that is a little bit more on the reasonably larger size knife for everyday carry, again, reasonably, it's not a large knife, but for an everyday carry type knife, it's on the larger size. And that being said, at 5.4 ounces and with its overall thickness, it's very comfortable in the pocket and very comfortable in hand. Now that I talk about thickness, here I'll get out the calipers, and I'm kind of curious how thick it is now. But it's comfortable in pocket, it really is. I've carried this, like most of my reviews, I've carried and used the living hell out of these because I really wanted to get a good understanding of what I'm talking about before I review it. Let's see. Okay, so a little over 1/2 inch thick. Okay, so that's not terrible as far as thickness goes. I have no problem with that. Let's see, this, I'll do a comparison of this in a minute. Yeah, this is you know, 0.1 inch thinner. That's the piston, Kershaw piston. Anyway, you know, referencing or comparing back to the mini Griptilian compared to this, the mini Griptilian's I think right around the same thickness. So, or maybe I'm thinking of the large Griptilian. So actually, yeah, I'll find out right now. Large Griptilian handle. Oh yeah, large Griptilian's a little bit thicker. So yeah, okay, so almost 0.1 inches thicker on the Griptilian, the large Griptilian. And for me, that says a lot. It's interesting, just a small margin like that can make a difference of the way it feels in your pocket. The large Griptilian for me, I'm comfortable with carrying in my pocket, but sometimes if I really had to choose, I'd say, you know what, maybe something just slightly thinner is probably just going to feel a little bit better in the pocket. And I think there's a lot of elements. I think the overall knife's design, how contoured it is, I think it really all factors in on how it feels in your pocket, and of course, more importantly, how it feels in your hand. And that's really the balance. This here is something that you can really hard use. And I've done that, and that's why I'm saying that. I know you can. You can really cut and hit on these really hard if you need to. You can do heavy cutting, and it's going to hold up really well. And it's one of the most comfortable EDC options that I know of. Period. One of the most. It is really comfortable in hand. So that's the great thing about this knife, is you get so much comfort in the hand, ergonomically, when you're cutting with it, it's very comfortable, even during heavy cutting. And in the pocket, it's a dream. So I think it's just a perfectly balanced, larger size, everyday carry knife. The way that the handle scales are milled out here and rounded on the back, let's see if I can get this to focus. Rounded off back here like that, and then tapers in. That makes it a semi-contoured handle. It's not just a flat slab of titanium, which, nothing against that. I'm just saying, if you want comfort, contouring is going to give you that on any handle, no matter what it's made of. And this gives you that contoured feel. The added ridges here on the back give you extra traction. Okay, and the side profile is really ideal. It's really preferred. You have this finger choil. Of course, the flipper just helps in so many ways, but it really locks into the hand. Okay, and the other really nice thing about this is the actual curvature of the handle itself. And what I mean by that is, you kind of, I think I get why they named it Hills. If you haven't noticed, the tip of the blade, the drop point there, goes up top, peak of the hill, goes down, peak of the hill, goes down. Kind of the flowing hills there, pretty cool. I may just be crazy, but that'd be cool if that's why they named it that. But the point is the actual side profile, you know, not the contouring like I was talking about, but the actual side profile design of this handle. Any handle that starts to taper downward towards where your pinky and ring finger is going to go, they're going to be more comfortable in your hand. That's the way your hand is designed. A straight stick is not going to be as comfortable in your hand or as ergonomic. That just makes, that's just kind of common sense, right? Your fingers are smaller down here, so if the handle bends towards them, it's easier for your fingers to wrap around them. And this just feels awesome in the hand. Very, very comfortable. So ergonomically, it's a freaking 10. 9.5 if you want to be picky. If you're one of those like me who has a hard time giving a perfect score to anything, it's a 9.5. This thing is awesome. Solid lockup. There's of course no blade play, wiggle, clicking, nothing. Very solid. Steel lock bar insert is great. It's just going to ensure the longevity of your knife and its lock. The pin screws in from the inside to hold the steel lock bar insert, and again, like I said before, it has the integrated over travel stop, so you cannot overextend this. Very solid detent. I mean, very solid. This action, you know, with the ball bearings inside, combined with a perfect detent like this, it's just effortless. Let me try to do that thumb thing I see people do. Yeah, that works. I guess that means that it's a good action. I don't know. All I know is no matter which way I flip this thing, it goes. I tend to love to just light switch this. But of course, if you button press it, it almost comes out like violently. Button pressing is almost always going to deploy the blade a little bit faster. And this comes out so fast already, I almost feel it's unnecessary. Just flies out. Very, very nice design. And the clip, man, look how low profile it is. That's another reason why it's so pleasing in the hand. It doesn't stick out and stab you. This thing doesn't stick up too much to where it creates a hot spot. This portion that jets upward here, it's not sticking up dramatically like I saw on some of the Kaisers. I don't even feel it in my hand. So that's really nice, and it has the perfect amount of tension. Just perfect. I have a Microtech Ultratech, very nice knife. The pocket clip that came on it had so much tension that I had to start, you know, very carefully and gradually pulling on it to bend it outward a little bit and decrease the tension until I found a sweet spot. This one came like that already. One-handed, able to put it in my pocket and take it back out of my pocket easily. Stays put, never moves, never starts backing its way out of the pocket. Just awesome. So, you know, easy to maintain and clean. Very simple construction. Very solid and rigid. I've taken this thing apart probably a dozen times for miscellaneous reasons, and it always goes together the same. It always, you know, puts together the same tolerances, almost perfect centering. I don't even know if any of you will be able to see that that's just a slight amount to the left there. Not enough to give a shit about, but it's really good enough for me. And man, just wonderful knife. Great everyday carry option. And you can use this in a lot of different ways. Solid lockup, just locks in the hand. Great for food prep with a full flat grind. It's going to slice well. And because of the thickness of the blade stock, not being too thick, and the design of the blade tip, you have a lot more durable blade tip. A lot less fragile, yet it's still very sharp. Lots of nice belly here. No recurve, so it's going to be easy to sharpen. Very nice. Fit and finish is amazing. Doesn't have the back stop pin here. It's integrated. It's internal, kind of like the Decepticon review I did. You see this? Sorry about hitting the camera there. See this pin that goes through the blade here? This rotates internally. It has an internal track. Let's see if I can catch that. Alright, and when I drop this down all the way, that hits the end of the track internally and stops the blade. Same thing open. Let's see if I can, yes. As this rotates backward, it goes in, hits the back of that internal track and locks the blade open. Of course, the lock bar here holding it locked open. Very comfortable to actuate this knife, to disengage the lock. Very comfortable. They chamfered this in here on the inside. See that? It's not a sharp edge. That's never good. Always bad. They did that on everything, as you can see. Little jimping in here, if you want to call it that. They're more ridges. I guess they provide slight traction. These ridges actually provide a very good amount of traction on the back of the handle here. And again, the jimping is medium traction. It does work. Definitely does catch the finger, the skin on that. I just think it would have been much better if they would have ran that jimping all the way back to here. And I keep hitting the camera. So anyway, now that I've smudged this all up, I'm pretty stoked about getting this anodized that color. I just started getting into anodizing about a month ago. And I did a lot of reading on it first and heard that green is a real challenge because it's on more of a higher end of the spectrum of voltages that you have to use to attain different colors. In anodizing, not to get all science class on you, but anodizing is not actually changing the color of the titanium itself. It's creating a layer on top of it, on top of the surface of the titanium, and depending on the voltage you use to do that, it's going to change the way in which it reflects the light back off the surface of the titanium to your eye, and the way it changes that is going to determine the actual color. So when you go up to about 100, and I think I was right around 100 and maybe 19 volts, just below 120, I got this really cool zombie slime green sort of color, which that's exactly what I was going for. Almost like a lime green color. Just awesome. And I really kind of went for that distressed look. I wish the lighting was better in here. I know it sucks, but I'll put up some. I've already posted some pictures on Instagram, so follow me there if you want to see some better. But I actually just hand sanded. I don't know if it was some sort of matte finish. I don't know if it was bead blasted or not. But I got some lines in here like that, and it just adds a lot of contrast. Kind of looks a little worn, but a very vibrant color. So I'm a fan of that. And then I try to do something a little different, as per someone's request. And again, lighting sucks, so I don't know if you're really going to be able to pick this up. It looks awesome in natural sunlight. But I did a really cool blue anodization, and I didn't actually sand it like I did on this to get that more of a gloss finish. I used the standard matte finish, got this beautiful blue, and then stonewash it, and then re-anodize it with like this bronze gold sort of color. So you'll see on all the edges and all the stonewashing here, very aggressive stonewashing, because that's what they wanted. And you know, especially in certain areas, that bronze really shows up well. All the corners. I really like how it turned out. I've done a few like this, and everybody's been really happy with it so far, so that's good. Pretty cool. Again, very easy to do work on these because the tolerances are very, very good. Take them apart, put them back together again, and it all works the same. But very nice. Same thing, like I said, I've handled probably about roughly 15 of these so far. And I have to tell you, I'm kind of struggling to tell you if I've seen a whole lot of variance at all between any of them. Let me see if maybe, yeah, you know what? The blade centering on this one is ever so slightly to the right. So there's the only variance I've seen, is the blade centering is always acceptable. I'm picky about that. For me, if you can barely notice whether if it's slightly off center or not, then that's good enough for me. I have to try to identify that. These things are centered within reasonable tolerances. The grinds are always on point and very symmetrical, so they make a really good product. At least with this Hills knife, definitely. And I was very pleased with the Decepticon, or the the District 9 as well. So I think I pretty much covered it. These things are outstanding for everyday carry if you're looking for a slightly larger option. It's built like a tank. It doesn't feel like a tank, and that's great. The value is through the roof on these. I saw that the price recently went back up on Blade HQ, but a couple other websites, I think GP Knives, I think you can get them for like $177. Look, if you want them customized, buy one or have me buy one. I'll do whatever you want to it. If you want me to anodize it or do some cool effects or stonewashing or acid stonewash or whatever on the blade. No matter what you want done to it, just pick one up, and if you don't like it, sell it. It'll be easy. I've sold a couple of these customized ones just to get going on eBay, and they sold the same day. Okay, so I don't think you have a lot to risk. These things are awesome. Again, only if you're looking for something that's a little bit on the larger side for a reasonable size for everyday carry. Great option. I think this is something that will last a lifetime. I think it's got great blade steel. It's got a really nice look. It's got great functionality. It's just a keeper. It really is. So let's make some quick comparisons. I'm going to compare some knives that are similar in some ways, and I also want to kind of show some different spectrums of price and value. So I think the closest comparison to it actually is the Reate Horizon C. And no, this is not just trying to represent Reate. There's other knives I'm going to show here. It's just this knife is very, very similar. It's pretty much the big brother to the Hills knife. It really is. And I'll do a separate review on this. It's just a little bit bigger and quite a bit heavier and very similar. You get a cool I'm trying to remember what the proper terminology is for that. I know it's not blood groove, but since I can't think of it, that's what I'm going to call it. Half pipe. Whatever the fuck you want to call it. But it's a cool looking knife. It's really nice. Same sort of concept. Same titanium, different clip. But this thing's $253. Okay. It's a little more expensive. And really, if you're not super digging the blade, you're not really getting a whole lot extra. You're getting a nicer clip based on certain people's standards, but it doesn't actually work as well as this titanium spring clip. Just being honest. Just being honest. I prefer a custom machined titanium clip like this as opposed to a spring clip. And this one's done right. It's very easy to get in your pocket, but I'm just saying, this is about as comfortable and easy as a clip gets. It just works perfectly. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit more robust, all the same materials, S35 VN blade steel, but you just want something a little bit more substantial, and you really are loving that blade design, then maybe that extra $50 is worth it to you. Depending on where you go, again, if you pay $177, $175, you're paying quite a bit more for this Horizon C now. So in my opinion, the Horizon C does not offer near as much value as the Hills knife, even though I love the Horizon C. I think it's a great knife. But as you can see, there's a lot of similarities in the overall handle design and form factor. It's just bigger. Moving on, the Zero Tolerance 0562 carbon fiber. Yes, this one's been significantly modified. Let's look past that for a minute. Forget this carbon fiber is this really cool design, and forget I have anodized blue titanium hardware on everything. Normally, this knife you can get, okay, for $240 when you can find them. They're kind of limited supply. It still comes with carbon fiber. It's just a flat pattern. There's no traction. This is normally that silver look and the same sort of pivot pin design that you would see on a 0801 or the 777. They've been using that same one, so it's kind of like that. And then these three posts here are black. I think this one's black as well. Black standoffs, silver disc, black, silver, black, black, black. So that's what it looks like. Let's talk about some differences. For $240, you're getting a beautiful satin finish on this handle here. On the blade grind relief side here. And then on the flats, you have this really cool stonewash. And on top of that, look at this blade design. Holy shit. Yeah, a separate review's got to be coming on this too. Slicer grind. This knife, before it's modified out of the box, and people are going to probably drop their jaws to the floor when they hear me say this, I'd take that knife over almost any hinderer ever made. Yeah, that's right. I said it. Give me a custom Eclipse. I'll sell it and buy a whole bunch of these. Yeah. This blows hinderers out of freaking water. That's just my opinion. I love everything. Everything, it has a better action, has better lockup, has better design, better blade design, better steel. M390. What? M390 steel. Yeah. Has kind of a XM18-esque pocket clip. I don't necessarily like the carry is this deep. Definitely buries in the pocket. You don't have to worry about losing it, so that's nice. But it is a little bit more of a pain in the ass to pull out of the pocket. Not a big deal, but you know, when you have something like the Hills, just so easy in and out, this just isn't quite as nice. That's probably the only negative comparison I'm going to make. Okay, you have this knife for $240. This one you're probably going to find, and let's say you get it for what I paid initially, $200. $40 more, you get M390 steel, which is significantly better than what the Hills is using. Don't get me wrong, S35VN blade steel that you see on the Hills here, that is an awesome option. That's a great blade steel, better than S30V by a small margin. M390 is a little bit more of a significant step up, and it's one of many people's favorite blade steels out there. Just a great balance. There's always better, don't get me wrong. You go back to this Nakamura knife that I pulled out, you know, this thing's got what, S90V? See if I can get this thing to focus. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. That kind of beats them all, doesn't it? But look at how much you're getting there. You're getting, what, almost the same amount of cutting edge. Okay, and I think maybe even slightly thicker blade stock, just a little bit. It's kind of hard to get a measurement because of the modified scales I have on here, but it's, I believe, the same thickness, if not a little bit thinner. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. I think it's actually just a tiny bit thinner, but it feels just as awesome in the pocket. Ergonomically, it's similar design, kind of contours and curves to the hand. A little bit better jimping. So it's a great knife, great option. If you can get the Hills at 177, I think it's competitive. I really do. I think flip a coin, whatever you like the looks of better. And again, you know, look up the pictures of how this looks normally. And same with these too. This is normally, I should have started with that. These Hills knives have that standard matte gray finish handle normally. Okay, so they're very competitive options. You can save a few bucks, $50, maybe even $60, depending on, you know, where you buy each of these. But this zero tolerance is outstanding. The fit and finish are great, but the same thing with the Hills knife. They're both going to pretty much be able to stand up to the same sort of stuff. It's just, do you really want that extra high-end, you know, blade steel M390? They also come out with this option here with LMAX and a G10 handle scale on the front. Still the titanium on the back, frame lock, steel lock bar insert, same as the Hills and the Horizon here. All very similar in design, or at least features, right? But you can get the downgraded version, LMAX G10, for $200. If I had to choose between the $200 0562 by Zero Tolerance or the Hills, I'd choose Hills all day. Especially if I can get the Hills for $177. But it's kind of tough when you say, I spend just a little bit more and I get all that. I don't know. It's for you to decide, but I'm just throwing it out there. Pretty cool options. Make room for a couple more comparisons here. Alright. A budget option. The Kershaw Piston. What a badass knife that is. Now, the blade's going to just be all satin. It might even, actually I think it's got like a really mild stone wash. The way I did it, I did this acid stone wash, excuse me, on the swedge here and on the rest of it, and on the flats I just left it stock. Reprofiled the edge, put a crazy freaking awesome edge on this. Yep. Pretty awesome knife. Very lightweight. Oh, speaking of weight, let me step back here. Sorry guys. So 5.4 ounces for the Hills. The Horizon C, although it's only like 0.1 inch bigger blade, 6.6 ounces, over an ounce heavier. Okay, this scale didn't change the weight. So 5.5 ounces, 0.1 ounce heavier than the Hills knife, believe it or not. And this Kershaw piston going to be the lightest of all of them, I think. 3.8. Because it's all G10. There's no stainless steel liners. All you have is the liner lock going down there. And the rest is all just solid G10. So it's very light. Very comfortable in the hand as well. Fairly ergonomic. Okay. These all offer jimping. The piston does not. I just added some on there. Okay. It also has a cheaper blade steel. I think it's probably, I don't know, 13 CRMOV or something like that. One of the higher end steels that Kershaw uses in most of their knives, but it's not a high-end steel. It's a mid-grade steel. It's very similar to Oz 8. This is also, I think, like 50, 60 bucks. Yeah, so that's pretty sweet. Get a hell of a lot of knife for this. And I think this is 3.5 inches too. These are all very close to 3.5 inches. This is more like 3 3/4 on the Horizon C, 3.6, 3.55, something like that. 3.5. Let me measure that piston now that I'm... Yeah, just under 3.5. So like a 940 length. Much wider blade, 3.45 inches, something like that. So it's really what you're looking for here. This is not quite as comparable. You don't have near as high-end steel, but it's going to hold up for most uses unless you're really beating on the thing. And then you can just resharpen it really easily because it's not very difficult to sharpen on this particular knife. If you really, really care about jimping, then throw some on there with a Dremel tool, or don't buy this knife. Liner lock. It gets the job done. I've really worked on this knife, and that's when I decided I love this knife. I'm gonna keep it. Customize them for a lot of friends of mine. I recommend them all the time if people don't want to spend a lot of money but they want a really great knife. And that's when I put some time and effort into this, and this thing's just great. I refinished the blade, but I went out and I really put it through some heavy use, and it held up outstandingly. The only thing that I noticed happened, and it's not a problem with the knife, you hear that rattle? Now watch this. No more rattle. So, spring assisted flipper, or speed safe, I think Kershaw calls it. The rest of these are non-assisted, they're just flipping, natural flippers. The tension bar that allows that speed safe assisted opening to happen is what's rattling when the blade's open, because the tension's been relieved and it's loose now. It never fails. There's nothing like loose as far as it's not going to work, it's going to fall apart, nothing like that. It just doesn't sound good. You know what that is? Nothing changed from when I pulled it out of the box. It's just I've torn this apart, cleaned everything up, done work to it, put it back together. And in the process of that, there was some kind of thicker, less viscous lube that Kershaw used when assembling this. And they put it in this little pocket where that tension bar bends, and there was a bunch of that thicker lube in there. And it was actually holding that tension bar, kind of, sticking it in place. So as I cleaned everything out and used a more viscous lube, I guess you could say, the tension bar now doesn't stick to it and it just kind of rattles in there. That's really the only negative I have about that, the piston there. It's just such a great value. It's a great knife. So these are all comparable. They're all outstanding. I think they all fit into the same role as a medium to large everyday carry option. All of these are excellent everyday carry options. I think the only one I'd probably get rid of if I had to choose would probably be the Hills, just because I've carried this, don't get me wrong, I love it, it's comfortable in the pocket, but it's just being honest and being realistic. I'm probably going to carry any of these before I carry the Hills. That's just me. Maybe not this one anymore because I've just been carrying more expensive stuff that's just what I've just been getting into a little bit more lately. But I have to say, I think this is a better everyday carry option. I would recommend this to people over the Horizon C. Not because it's a better knife than the Horizon C, but talking in the context of everyday carry options, I think these are better options. One last comparison, and then I'll wrap this now 40-minute video up. Sorry for dragging this on. This thing's awesome. Wow, look at that. Customized Morph by Custom Knife Factory. Look at this. Oh man. Yeah. Oh yeah. Look at that Persian looking blade. So I'm going to wrap this up real quick. This knife, not customized, is $280. That's more expensive than any other knife that's been put on this table so far. And it's probably just as good as an everyday carry option as all of these. I just think that these other three are probably built a little more robust. Okay? This one I haven't really taken out and beaten on the standard version, but it's a little bit thinner overall. It's a lot more lightweight. It's only 3.9 ounces. Double row ball bearings. The action's just crazy smooth on this. S35 VN blade steel. Doesn't look like this. It's just that matte titanium. All the stainless steel. It hasn't been heat treated. Bronze. It's just silver. But it's a very good looking knife. And let me tell you something. It is more comfortable in the hand than any other knife I've ever held in my entire life. Ever. I'm not talking about for heavy use. I'm just saying I'm just going to put a knife in my hand. I'm going to wrap my stubbies around it. And nothing feels better. And I'll go into that when I review it. It's also extremely thin. And it's going to feel better in the pocket than any of these. So for comfort in hand and comfort in pocket, the Morph beats them all. But when you start talking about, okay, I want to use the thing, I may want to really use the thing, like really freaking hard, and I want to also save some money instead of $280, this is not $180. I'm saying the non-custom version, $280. These things right here, these are the good options. And personally, I think the Hills competes really well with any of the things I've brought out and shown you today. These are outstanding options. I think Reate, this is probably one of the best things that they've put out there for people who want to own knives that are, you know, not as common, that are truly quality, and knives that are made to be used. I think these really hit that mark. So thank you all very much for watching, and I want to make a special thanks to all the subscribers out there. This channel's been growing little by little. I haven't really been pushing for anything crazy. It's just been a side hobby. I love just talking about knives, and I'm going to start to branch out a little bit more. I've been saying that for a few videos. I'm going to start doing other things, other types of gear, you know, whiskey and cigars and other things that I like. But I'm actually going to be moving soon from New York to North Carolina, and so it's kind of taking away some of my time. When I do relocate in a couple months and get situated, that's when you're going to start seeing other types of videos like that. But this is just a hobby. I'm really liking it, and I'm seeing that getting more and more people watching. So I appreciate you all coming back, and I appreciate you subscribing, and I appreciate a lot of people have given me some really good insight, and I appreciate the feedback. So thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Please like the video. Please share it. And again, as always, thanks again. Please let me know if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments. Take care.